There are 5 key things affluent people focus on to grow their wealth. You want to know what they are so that you can focus on them for yourself? Watch this video. The first one is wealth preservation. They've made a lot of money. They have a business that's worth a lot of money. And the first thing they want to do is not blow that money. They want to preserve it. So how do they do that? They look for diversifying their investments. They look for developing passive income streams and other things that go along with building wealth. So how does this apply to you? You've worked hard for your money too. And a lot of the strategies that the wealthy use to maintain their wealth can be used by you to maintain your wealth and grow it over time. The second focus area is wealth enhancement. Oftentimes this involves tax planning, whether it's income tax planning, sometimes it's estate tax planning. And again, as it relates to you, are you doing everything you can to minimize your tax liability each year? Or are you just paying what someone tells you to pay? Focusing on your tax liability each year, as well as focusing on it early enough in the year where you can actually have an impact on it, are key things that you should always be considering. The average CPA or tax planner is looking at your tax information after the end of a year. There's nothing they can do about that. They're basically hindsight looking and getting forms filled with the government. What you need to focus on is what are you going to do this year that's going to minimize your tax liability this year before you get to the point of having your tax returns done. So the third is wealth transfer. How are they going to transfer their wealth to future generations and create their legacy? Now, you may be younger, you may not have a significant amount of wealth at this point, although it's never too early to start thinking about how you want to start planning for your family and whether or not you need to do things, for example, like education plans for your children. This all falls under the heading of legacy planning. So make sure that you're doing it early on enough that you can really make a difference in your family's lives. The next one is wealth protection, and generally this involves risk management. Normally you're thinking of auto insurance and house insurance, which are great and must-have items. Also, though, you've got life insurance to consider, you've got disability insurance to consider. Any number of other types of assets that you may have may need to be separately structured into a limited liability company, for example, to remove risk of litigation. So when you look at your assets, you look at your risk, then come up with a plan to minimize the risk for each one of those assets. The final area is charitable giving. Now, you may not have the wherewithal to give charitable contributions on the magnitude that the wealthy do. However, you probably are making some charitable contributions, and you want to make sure that you get the most tax advantage for those that you can. Sometimes that means that you will bunch a number of years' contributions into one year so that you can have a higher deduction amount if you anticipate that maybe you will not hit the standard deduction in future years. There's also an opportunity to contribute funds to a donor-advised fund where you're able to put the cash aside essentially and take a deduction in one year, but not actually distribute it to the charities until future years. So there are things that you can consider doing with your charitable contributions, even though you may not be at the magnitude or the level of an ultra affluent person. So if you're able to start focusing on the key areas where the affluent are already focusing, it will help you get to where you want to be financially and also with regard to your legacy in life. If you find this helpful, please hit the subscribe button and I'll see you in the next video.